I wonder if you've ever found something on your property or when you've just been out on a bushwalk and thought, well, that could be a fossil or that might be really old. What am I supposed to do with it? Who do I call and what do I do with it? I certainly would have no idea what to do if I came across what could be a fossil or what could be an old tool from the people, from settlers or anything like that. So I wanted to talk to Sally Hurst because Sally Hurst has set up Found a Fossil, which is a service that you can use if you come across something which could be a fossil. And Sally set it up because even after studying paleontology and archaeology, she still didn't know what to do. Good morning, Sally.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How did this all come about? Why did you decide to start up Found a Fossil?
So, I had reached the end of my studies in Sydney and I had studied archaeology and paleontology. So, I was looking at fossils and artifacts, and I actually realised that if I did happen to discover something, I do a lot of bushwalks, I grew up on a farm, so it wouldn't be out of the question to come across something. But I realised I would have no idea of what I was actually meant to do, if I was meant to contact anyone, what the laws were. And having just completed a degree in both of those fields, I thought, oh, this is a bit of a gap in the knowledge. And so I got thinking that, wow, if I don't know this with my kind of experience, it's likely that a lot of other Australians are in the same boat. And if they discovered something, maybe they dug up a dinosaur in their backyard, they may also have no idea of who they can contact or what they can do.
How hard was it to find out that information once you started looking?
It took a lot of time. So I decided to make that kind of knowledge gap my thesis for my Masters of Research at Macquarie Uni. And it took me months to try and troll through all of the different state legislation, see if there were local guidelines in places, see if there was any federal guidelines. And it was a bit of a mess, really. It was really hard to find clear information. Even some of the federal websites that had advice were really outdated. They were talking about departments that didn't exist anymore. And so, yeah, just trying to find who should I contact if I find something, especially when it's a legal requirement to report some things. It was really difficult.
And I guess you have the training in the background too. You know at least where to start. Someone who just stumbles across something in a gold shaft here in the goldfields out in WA or just in their backyard or on their farm would probably not have any luck at all or no idea.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing, that it took me so long to, try and find these things, and even calling around for the state heritage kind of departments that were out there. There were a few times where I would call kind of the listed number and kind of say, who am I meant to contact if I do find something? And half the time they had no idea either. So it was really hard to find the right person. Once, or if you could find the right person, they were super helpful. They knew their stuff. It was awesome. But yeah, it was really difficult to try and find who that exact person was.
You're listening to Early Mornings on ABC Perth and WA. I'm speaking to Sally Hurst, who is the founder of Found a Fossil. She started it up, I guess, to help us out when or if we come across something of significance while we're out bushwalking or farming or panning for gold, if we want to be doing that. So what do we do then? You've collated all the information. What should be the first thing we do if we stumble across something of archaeological significance?
So the first thing is to be really conscious of where you actually are. So for a lot of the time, if you have found something on your own property, then a lot of the time, it's up to you to choose what to do with it. But if you are in somewhere like a national park, a state forest, something like that, then generally you will need something like a research permit to collect that thing. If you are, other places, for some places you might need a miner's right to collect fossils. And if it is more archaeological, so related to human or Aboriginal history, then it's quite likely you'll need to get in touch with your state heritage kind of department, and they can advise on what to do, and often they will get in touch on your behalf with the local Aboriginal community in that area to figure out what the next steps are.
How often do you get contacted by people who think they've come across a dinosaur or something prehistoric?
I usually get a few inquiries a week from various people. I'm very honest that while I have kind of some knowledge of paleontology and archaeology, that I don't have specialized training in identifying a lot of this stuff, but I know the people who do. So yes, a few times a week I will often get people who send me pictures of the fossils they found. Sometimes it will be pictures of Aboriginal artefacts that people have had in the family for a while and they want to know what they can do to repatriate them. I will admit there's definitely quite a number of photos of rocks that get sent through that people are very excited about. Maybe it's a dinosaur footprint or maybe it's a new skeleton or something, and I have to very gently say, like, it's a very cool find, but unfortunately it is a rock.
Is there one that sticks out to you that was a dinosaur or an artifact or something that you were like, oh my goodness, that is so cool? Like something that you just, like, your favourite one?
Yeah, it actually happened pretty recently. So as part of kind of advertising this project, I've gone to a lot of conferences to speak about kind of what I get to do. And at one of these conferences, I met up with some amazing people from a private archaeology firm, and I'm pretty sure they're based down in Victoria. And so that's kind of how they knew about the project. And then just a few weeks ago, they contacted me saying, we think we found a fossil. We do archaeology, we do Aboriginal kind of history, not fossils. What on earth are we meant to do with it? So it was really exciting because it was a tiny little fossil. It was probably the size of my fingernail or something. And we think it was potentially part of a crinoid. And this is things that are, older than the dinosaurs potentially and were little underwater plant-looking things. And the person who was the archaeologist actually thought that the rock that they had found this fossil in may have actually been a flake, so a little bit of rock that had chipped off when someone was creating a stone tool. So it was just this amazing cross-section of archaeology and paleontology, and especially when that's kind of my whole thing, it was very exciting to have a find like that.
Oh, I can imagine. Sally Hurst is my guest. She is the founder of Found a Fossil, which is the place you can go if you come across a fossil in your backyard. If you have had that experience, give me a call or send me a text 0437 922 720. Sally, have you ever been out on a dig yourself or stumbled across something?
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough to go on a few different digs. I have some very clever professors from university. So Professor Glenn Brock at Macquarie, he was my main supervisor, and he studies fossils that are just about microscopic. They're so small. And he goes out to the Flinders Ranges every year in South Australia to look for more of these fossils. So I was very lucky to go and find some with him last year. But more recently, I've actually been up in Lightning Ridge. I just got back last week, actually, where we were looking for more dinosaur bones, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah. How do you look for microscopic fossils in the bush? Because surely you'd need a microscope.
So some of them are in very specific kinds of rock. Other times, I think Glenn has just been doing this for so long. He's just like, it's going to be in this area, and we've sampled here before. But a lot of the time you do kind of have to take these bags of rocks back to the lab, fly them back to Sydney, put them in acid to dissolve the rock around them so just the fossils are left. And they are teeny tiny. So you can technically see them without a microscope, but it's bloody hard. This is why dinosaurs are much better. They're much bigger.
They're much bigger, yeah. And I mean, much cooler. They've got the teeth and the little arms in the case of the T-Rex, and you just don't understand how they survived. But Sally, how do we get in contact if we come across something and we think this is something that Sally should help us with or should know about because we've just discovered this really cool dinosaur? How do we get in touch?
So the best way is just through the Found a Fossil website. So you can literally just Google Found a Fossil and it will come up. And you can send me an email, you can fill out a form, you can contact me through Facebook or Instagram, and I will be happy to take a look at whatever you have found.
Sally Hurst, thank you for joining me. That's Sally Hurst from Found a Fossil.